Right, one moment while I sort out pasting a thing. Hello again. We apologise for the exploding stream. So, where were we? I don't know what happened. I disconnected my laptop from the Wi-Fi and reconnected it, and everything was started working again. Except it had been so long that that YouTube had got bored with waiting for me. I could perhaps actually see if I can still find the switch that causes it to not do that. But actually, I think they may have hidden that away a bit. Anyway. Right, thank you, Jetton. So, obviously I should demonstrate that this still works. There. But I was kind of going, it's very slow. Hang on, how slow is it compared to everyone else's solution? It's not that slow compared to everyone else's, but I feel that the way that it... Oops. The way that it spends so much time flibbling down here is kind of sad. And we could probably do better because, like, the widths of these things go up to about 4 or 5. So with at least a little careful subtraction, we could arrange to do a that not so much as an unrolled loop as just an entirely unrolled loop, just leaping into a suitable sequence of MOV3 downs. So we'd want... I'm now wondering if we could do it directly by just having JRO jump backwards the right distance. No. I think. Because, well, we would need to... yes, we'd need to negate and then add a bit, and if we're going to do that, we may as well go forwards. So if we're going to have a JRO ACK, which will then be followed by a bunch of MOV3 down instructions. Oops. Something like that. Then, so I'm assuming that the width never exceeds 5 here. We'll see if that's true. So then we want to, given a number that goes up to 5, we want to do something like negate it. Well, let's do that first, because obviously we need it to go backwards. And then we need to add something in order to give us the right answer. And we want, if what comes in is 5, we want to end up with 1. So we probably want to add 6. Right, I wonder what that does. Well, that's faster, certainly. May even be correct. Looks about right. Can probably be made, I suspect it can be made faster still by some slightly more careful interleaving of what happens between processors. But But like that's got our cycle count down off the left edge of the big bit of the graph now, which is quite nice. So obviously the slow bit here is after we've copied the width down, which is the last thing. At that point this just goes swoop and then jumps back up to the top. But we can't really... There's not really much other processing to do at that point. I mean, I suppose if the rows are also small in number, we might be able to have this one also engage in some unrolling. But the thing is that actually worth doing? So that... So I'm just essentially wondering, does this processor ever end up waiting for this one significantly during that loop? I think the answer is no. So I don't think that would be worth doing. Right, okay, I think that's as good as we're getting there. Am I going to do another one, or am I going to declare that it's 11:30 and probably a sensible time to stop? How long did that last one take me, I wonder? I can't tell. I can't even rewind the stream. He says, again. Okay, well, now we need to draw a histogram. Large number of perceiving devices arranged into an array could be pointed towards something and collapse its wave function, thus making it real. Maybe. Read a value from in. Draw a line that many units long to the right of the previous line drawn.
From the ground up.
Yes. So everything is all backwards and inconvenient. Plus, the numbers are no longer so small that we can get away with fully unrolling the loops, I think. But on the other hand, we can probably do basically the same trick we did with the last one, couldn't we? So, like, we could say this processor's job is just to keep track of where we are in the x direction. So it goes mov ac down, mov up, down, add 1. That's it. Right. Yes, so indeed, as you say, Jacob, this processor controls the horizontal. So then... So then this one can read in the x position and the total height required, and then maybe emit a thing for each of those, each thing that needs to be thinged, as it were. I think the next one is going to need to do a JRO trick, so we'll stick a JRO thing in there. something like that. Right. So you can probably avoid a swoop here by some means. So what am I doing here? I want to output probably something for each set character cell in the display for this column. So do I just work my way up from the bottom, or do I try to do a few sums so that we have less weirdness to do? So I think we want to what do we want to do? We want to do something like let's do the naive thing. Right. Okay, we have a slight swoop versus everything else problem, so I need to rearrange things a little bit. Because obviously we have to... oh, that does it, doesn't it? Yes. I seem to be doing a JRO thing here, but not for any good reason. Let's stop doing that then, because we're outputting essentially alternately an X coordinate and a Y coordinate. Only the Y coordinate's not exactly a helpful one. But let's just actually render that and demonstrate what we've achieved so far.
Render, you mean write two more processes of code to get it all the way to the output port?
Yeah, but this one's going to at least be doing something slightly useful. Yeah, the syntax doesn't actually need them, but the manual has commas, so. So all being well, this is drawing more or less the correct histogram, but upside down. Also off by one, yes. But but both of these are essentially the same problem. The Y coordinate needs a bit of mangling in order to get it to go right. Yes, it would be rather a nice reflection if it were in the right place. So that's pretty close to correct. We just need to deal with the fact that the Y coordinates are all rubbish. Well, here's a convenient place where we have the Y coordinate available. Is that going to be what we want? No, because it's not 30 pixels high, you stoat. 18. Let's try add 17 then. I'm probably off by one in some direction, but the easiest way to check that is to go, what? Okay. That's apparently wildly wrong. Oh yes, we should probably output the results of that calculation. No, we're ending up 1 pixel too high. Okay, add 16, I don't know. We're ending up 2 pixels too high. Okay, that was clearly the wrong direction.
bygone jinx.
Right, that looks better. I mean, it's slightly silly that we have a processor whose sole job is to funnel data from the one above it to the one below it, but like we need a minimum of 4 processors just to connect the input to the output, so just looking at the code going, is there a way this could be simpler? I mean, basically our rate limiting step is this processor anyway. Which possibly means I want to be doing that arithmetic somewhere else. Or at least this is the processor with the least idle time. Obviously, for speed, you work out a way to turn the entire graph sideways and print whole rows at a time, but I kind of suspect that's not easy. There's nothing else because we don't have any storage space other than the display, and the display is write only. We only have 33% idle time on the output processor, so it's not like we can merge things very much. We're basically running as fast as the display can accept data, give or take. Not quite, but... nearly done, so I won't bother making it go fast. Yes, if we could contrive to draw horizontally, we could get more, we could do things into the display faster, but how are we going to remember enough? I mean, we would need to remember at least some quantity of input numbers in order to work out which bits we could draw. And we have no memories, so we'd have to do this by stashing it in spare processors or something. I mean, I do observe that we are actually quite high up in the cycle count statistics. Weirdly high up. Like, is this the point at which you're actually running the display flat out? I suppose it might be, because we were at 30% idle on that output processor, so that would presumably correspond with about 0% idle on the output processor. Which would require a fair amount of cleverness. Possibly you would do something like send some of the coordinates by a different route, so that this arithmetic was, I suppose, if we had... No, that won't help. Yeah, if we sent the coordinates via that processor and the... except for the one that needs arithmetic done on it, which went via this processor, then we might be able to get the pipelining right. I mean, that one was relatively easy, so maybe we should try making it faster. I mean, I suppose we could parallelise things a little bit. And this isn't quite going to parallelise it. Because the sequences that pass through here are all fixed length. So we could have this actually go mov up, down, mov up, down, mov 3 down, mov -1 down, and thus remove those two instructions from there. Now that's not very helpful as it is. Because everything's in the wrong order. So at the point when this one is doing its writing out two extra writing out those two, this one is waiting for it. What we then want to do is to arrange to overlap that neg add 18 so that it happens at the same time as those moves. That means that this processor needs to get its two numbers in the opposite order. Which is kind of inconvenient, but maybe we can do it. So at the moment this expects to get x and then height, and it then writes out x and then repeated y's, albeit y's in the wrong direction. Rather it writes x, y, x, y, x, y. So if we have it so let's just reverse that throughout. If we have it instead, expect this processor expect move to send height and then x. Then this loads height and then x into the two registers. It should then send
registers for two. No. The two registers for two. No.
Actually, let's undo that because I don't think it makes it helps much. So this now receives x swap height swap and then sends x swap y subtract. So if we instead have it send y subtract 1 swap x swap decide where we are in the loop, then this one now receives y followed by x so it can then load y, then do the sums on it, then send x, and then send the new y. Aha! Idle time in the output processor is now down to 6%. How does that do us for... Oh, that's a much nicer place to be on the cycle count graph. So by careful tuning of the interactions between the processors, we've managed to get things a bit better. So I wonder if we can just see what's happening. Let's let that run into another column. Right. See if there's an obvious, well, if we swap these two instructions, then things will get better. I mean, it all looks pretty. I mean, I think the only time that this processor is idle is when other ones upstream of it are doing extra thinking. So there's like it's alternating modes here, which I think is as good as it gets. It's never hanging on read except now. Right. So then it stalls on read for a little while. That wasn't quite where I meant to be. So this processor is stalled reading. This one is trying to read the next value from left, and this one is like one instruction late in getting the next value into place for the next column having come through here. So maybe we can fix this. What happens if we... Because that sub 1 could be in a different place. So if we move the sub 1 later in the loop, does that fix the problem? That makes it, if anything, maybe not worse, but not much better. I don't think that's made things any better. Right, well, I think that should almost certainly be the right time to stop for the night. We've done the first half of the obvious image viewer things. We do have an image console sandbox if we want to have something that actually does anything more interesting that we could do, but I'm not really feeling in writing a version of Simon in TIS-100 mood. So yes, that will be enough for tonight, I think. Probably be back on Sunday and attempt to finish this bottom row and whatever that weird thing is at the end. So in the meantime, good night.